Okay, welcome. Today I'm going to attempt to pop some copper veins and hopefully we can gather a decent amount of copper fairly quickly. Alrighty. That is right. I will use community there. Just faster. Let's go back up. Let's look for a little forest. There we go. Oh, I do not want a mountain actually. Village there. Let's hug the coastline, I suppose. Oh, here we go. Oh, this one looks perfect. It's a little close to the water, but it should be alright. Just chatting to Tom. 2 seconds. Alrighty. So this copper node looks pretty decent. This is a good go-to node for me as far as I'm concerned. It's nice and steep, so half the copper node is exposed. It's decently far from the water, so I should be able to dig down under it without hitting the water at all. Yeah, it's poking out of the rock quite a way, so it shouldn't have to dig around too much of the terrain. So I shall spawn in a pickaxe. What's it called? Pickaxe antler. There we go. Hey, you're here. Cool. Glad, Tom. Alright, so I'll just go over it again. I'm not sure if you saw. I just chose this one because it's on a fairly steep mountainside or hillside. Decently high up from the water line, so I should be able to dig down under it with no dramas without hitting the water, because that's just annoying. And because it is steep, although it's a little annoying to, you know, have to jump over stuff, it means I don't have to dig down the terrain nearly as much. It should be able to get under it quite a bit. Up here it's going to still cut into the hillside a bit, and you'll like have to dig down on the ground to actually pop out. But this is a pretty good one to start. Yeah, I think it should work quite nicely. I just spawned in a pickaxe, and we'll see how we go. Probably have to repair it as well pretty soon. But we can grab some wood for that. I'll grab a little bit of wood now before I get started. I like enough wood for a fire and enough wood for a workbench, and I'll put them underneath the copper and use the copper itself as shelter, so I can repair it as much as I want. And I'll grab enough for a chest as well, just for the sake of it. Which I probably should have done. That's alright. It's enough for a workbench now, and a chest, and a fire. I've already got the shelter buff, which is awesome. And I'll chuck down the fire now, so I'm resting. Which is going to be perfect for stamina. Try not to hit the copper at all. One, it makes noise, draws attention to you, and just kills your damage output. What I mean by that is like just wasted, strikes on the terrain. All I'm trying to do at this stage is just dig away the terrain to first expose the entirety of the copper mine, or the copper vein, so I know where to focus on. What I've done in the past is just start cutting the surface of it to get the copper that I need, and then go back to it later, only to find out misplaced where the whole copper node was. Also, if you are digging sideways when you're already at maximum depth, it'll tear away the entire depth of the terrain. I like to start on the downhill side, so that every strike is... I don't have to dig down any further, I'm just digging sideways. And as you know, most mobs will not drop down a steep incline. If it's too high, I think it's 4 meters or something, they will just completely ignore it. They will push each other in if they get too excited. Sometimes the grey dwarves will come. If you've got a fire, they'll be scared and might push each other in. That's going to happen a bit, but this can help prevent it quite a lot. Oh, already broken. So go back under here. Put my crafting station down. Workbench. And I shouldn't need anything over it because it's nicely under this. Fair with that. Good to go again. See if I can do it without drawing too much attention to myself. Obviously it doesn't really matter if you do hit the vein. It's just a little bit of wasted time and stamina, and the reason I try to avoid it is because it just draws the attention of anyone. I think within 30 meters, which, you know, if you're deep in the Black Forest, it sometimes means troll, but it generally will bring grey dwarves because they like to spawn pretty close to your location, usually within that range. Especially if you're here for an extended period of time. So if you can dig away the terrain first, before you start working on the copper itself, then you're fairly well protected, because you might find that none of them actually work their way into the hole. In theory. Probably never actually achieve that. But, you know, it does save a lot of time. You don't have to worry about combat. If you have rock that you're fighting as well, sometimes they merge together. It may be worth avoiding if you're trying to be really efficient, because if there's stone there, it means the copper isn't going to form properly, and it's going to slow you down because it's so time consuming to dig through. You can see I've only gathered 20 stones so far, which is nice. Also, chopping trees as well is noisy, so take that into consideration when you're choosing your copper node, especially if you're really undergeared. Sometimes it's good to get some sneaky materials in nice and early, you know, before your character's really even ready for it. And you can do that, like as soon as you kill Peak Bear, you know, before you even have any armor, you can find yourself digging out some copper. Oh, there goes my pickaxe again. Obviously, you still have to have some certain cores anyway. That's, you know, the two main ways you can get that. Should you just avoid ones close to the water? I generally do. I don't like to have to... so where the copper node itself can form is at varying heights. And you might find that, you know, a decent amount of it actually spawns in the water a little bit, because it will spawn a little bit deeper, and that is going to prevent you from being able to actually mine some of it, because you can't dig below a certain level because the water is just going to stop you. And you know, you're going to get wet all the time, so it's going to do the stamina. It's just so much slower. Sometimes it's hard to find copper, but honestly, the whole process, you know, we're 13 minutes in now. But we're, yeah, 13 minutes in, and I've already exposed the entire thing. Oops, need some stamina. So, all the way around is exposed. I should do a little free fly actually, and have a look. Oh. So how do I do that? Is it free fly? Yeah, there we go. Well, I'm used to it being reversed. So you can see that a decent amount of it does go into the side. But a whole chunk of it is exposed, that it's just extra stuff I don't have to... just give me a second, sorry about this, I've got to... Alrighty, I'm back. Sorry about that. Yeah, just the wife calling about getting bubs. So, yeah, as you can see, it only took a few minutes, and we've dug all the way around it. Basically, I like to do that just to check, like just to make sure I get the whole copper node, basically. Right, so I'll get back out of free flow. And maybe I can make it daytime. I know Helga does that all the time when she's building. Not really sure how to do that. I think it's just set time. Nope. Time. Skip time. Maybe it's just time. Maybe 0.5? I do not know if that worked. Time 0.5. It doesn't look like that has worked. We'll see how we go. Alright, so I'll now continue to try and excavate it as much as I need to underneath. Still with avoiding any like cutting away any of the copper that is just unnecessary. Obviously, it's unlikely to have a porcupine at this stage. But, you know, for the sake of demonstration, why not? So this tree, although it looks like it's not touching, it probably is going to impede the popping of the copper. I will take this whole wall out a bit further from the node before I even bother trying to do that. As far as I know, anything touching it can be a problem, and it, like the collision box, not like visually represented by the copper deposit itself. So there are some vertices that could exist. That you just can't necessarily see. Just let me know, Tom, if that's too dark. I will jump on the web and find out how to do that. But it's like, if it's all cool for you to see, then I'll just keep going. But even this little bush here, typically I'll just get rid of it anyway. Like it's a hard call to know which ones are going to be a problem, but in my experience, I've had, you know, more failures than successes. So just getting rid of them to begin with is my go-to. You know, can usually be reasonably successful with getting to the top on the first go, if you are careful with all of those things. You do have to completely dig under it though, which is what we were doing so. Even things like branches laying on the ground. Just get rid of all You often need it anyway, right? Time of day 0.5. Cool. Thank you, sir. Hey, there we go. That might even stop the night spawns as well. These are probably far enough away that it won't be a problem, but seeing as I can reach them, I'll just grab them. I don't think loose entities affect it, only ones that are connected to the ground still. So if it's been picked up and it's just like, you can't fit your inventory in a spot, I'm pretty sure it's okay. That rock, I would guess is okay, but that I would say is not. Even as you change the height level vertically, if it looks close now, we drop it down, it looks like it's further away, but I've found that they can still be a problem sometimes. So this will make some noise. Game sounds are too loud? Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. Right, let me know how that goes. Did you want me to repeat anything? Oh, you can't hear anything when I'm digging. Or fighting, yeah. Well, hopefully you won't have to worry too much about the fighting anymore with the time of day change. What I was saying with the rocks before is as it drops down when you dig away the terrain, like this, it might appear to be, like visually it's further away from the copper node itself, but from my experience it doesn't necessarily help you as far as making it pop or not. Got most of it? Awesome. So walk around looks pretty good. I will just get rid of this one as well. Like it's not huge, won't take too long, and it probably isn't going to affect the pop, but you know, it's that small that it shouldn't be too hard to do. This here is probably a problem. Might not be. Oh, I need to eat, don't I? I will also get rid of my workbench and the fire as well before I try and do that. As I used to build a little hut on top of the copper node before I got started, and every single time I've done that, I've found that the middle of it won't pop while there's a little hut and stuff set up there. Now I just try and get down underground as fast as possible, and then you know the greater wolves are just going to circle around on top of the butt heads, trying to get to you and throwing stones at you. But as soon as you get underneath, they'll lose line of sight on you anyway. They'll still hear you and be looking for you, but because they can't actually see you, they won't aggro. And if your base is underneath, then you're only going to get the occasional one falling down. Did I remove the tree? I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got the tree and the stump as well. Definitely get the stump. So that that looks a bit too close, so I'll just get rid of it. I'm not sure if there's a way to check if there's anything impeding on the collision box. It'd be cool if it was. It's possible you could check for something like that using a campfire, like placing a campfire underneath it and seeing what the smoke does. I haven't really thought about it too much before. It wouldn't necessarily make things any faster, but you know, if you're doing it for really just wanted the effect of it to explode, like for recording it or something, then that might be something you could look into. Looks pretty good. This stuff might be a bit too close. It's hard to say. But again, you know, it doesn't take too long to get rid of it. And I find it just helps to understand what is actually going on with the mechanics. When you get rid of that stuff and you realise that now it does pop. What I have done a couple of times in the past is save a world and a backup of it, and then try and pop it and then reload it if it doesn't, so that you can just get the whole thing to go in one hit. Obviously I have to chop into it now underneath it, so I'm going to have to break away, because I can't cut any deeper, because that's the bottom of the world height that you can modify. So now it's just a matter of cutting into it and digging out all the low spots that are touching the ground. I will actually spawn a new pickaxe now, just to speed this up. Black metal. That's going to be the ticket. Probably have to get a forge too. Why no? Yeah, I've got 100 durability. Oh, actually, I can also raise my skill to 100. I don't think that worked. No, I did it that wrong. I think it's raise skill all. Yeah, there we go. So now I should have decent enough pickaxe skill to do this a little bit faster. Still just switching back to the antler pickaxe here. That's my typical go-to, just because, you know, that's easier to repair. I can repair it right here, and is how I would normally do it as well. Obviously I can just spawn a new black metal pickaxe, but it also chews up more of my stamina. So, I mean, I'm doing what here? That's my max stamina, 98. I'm using 10 stamina for a hit. Whereas this one, I can't actually read that, sorry. 97. So I'm using only 4 stamina with that. So this is just as fast to swing, hits harder, but it does use more stamina. So just something to worth considering. A lot of this is exploding already, actually, which is probably a good sign. It's probably going to basically be gone by the time I get it dug out. What I could do with some resting. I've never managed to dig out dig underneath a copper node without having to do this, chopping away at it from the bottom side of it. I believe they always, from what I've seen, they always touch like into the bottom layer. Might be possible, but they might spawn on top of other spawn stones, like big boulders. Not sure. I think just the way it procedurally generates is it's always going to be at that bottom layer though. See this here is quite low, possibly still too close to the ground. Like even this little spot here, in my experience, that might be something that stops you from popping it. So I generally include those as well. That's what you were not doing, as in going underneath it, you mean, Tom? I find because you have to do this, it's not as satisfying as silver. Still a fast way of getting the whole lot though. Yeah, digging it out like that. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I understand why you might do that, because it's a little bit tedious, but just get a new pickaxe, sorry. It's a little bit tedious, but like I think a good way of doing it, one that I've tried a couple times in the past, that works really well, is actually using a troll to help you as well. In like a hybrid. So most people have this idea of how like, the best way to go about mining copper is. Some people do it like this, like I often do this. Some people just mine the top surface and then move on, and then some people, you know, will enlist the help of a troll to get as much as they can. What I've done in the past, which came about, you know, accidentally, is attempt to do this and get, you know, halfway through it, and then a troll comes along and falls in the hole and starts attacking me. So all I basically do is attempt to survive and dig away the terrain and allow him to smash the copper itself. So as I'm exposing all of the copper for him to get, so I can see it and that he can get access to it, yeah, and then just try and stay alive. Another way that actually works pretty well, and I think is really fast, if you want a good amount of copper pretty quick, find a copper node that's fairly flat on the top surface, and just start, you know, find a troll and that copper node, and then dig a little bit of a hole on the top center, and then get the troll to fall into the hole and get him stuck in the center of the node. And then if you get down there with him, he's going to do the ground pound and break it away, and then all you need to do is just dig down and he's going to start breaking away all of that copper. Go away. Yeah, he's going to start digging away all of that copper for you really quickly, and he's just going to stay there, and you'll just expose more and more copper for him with your, you know, even your antler pickaxe, and he just smashes it all away. Gee, there's not much left of it, is there? Yeah, it looks like it's going to be almost completely gone before I even expose it all. Sometimes the copper nodes are quite tall, but this one seems relatively flat and shallow. So it's not going to get a lot of pop, which makes this whole process even more tedious because you have to disconnect all of it vertically. So if it's a wide, flat, mushroom-shaped node, then it's just a lot of chopping for not really any benefit doing it in this method. But if it's very, very tall and narrow, then this method works a bit better. Don't be late for work. I've still got 3 hours before I'm going to work. I'll be picking up bubs in about an hour and a half. But thanks for the reminder. I appreciate it. Sometimes I get carried away, as I'm sure everyone does. We certainly do on Wednesday nights, don't we? Stone for days, huh? Really? Not a bad way to go about doing this is to drop down in the center. It can be fairly quick. It's harder to get to pop, but if you just after copper collection, dropping down all the way to the bottom center and digging out like a spiral, dig down to the bottom and then just start digging out in a little circle, a spiral pattern, but keeping as low as you can the whole time, you'll eventually you'd basically do what I've done here, but in the other order. And that can be a pretty good way of doing it, and it feels faster. It possibly is. I haven't actually timed it before, but with this, I like doing it. I like the satisfaction of when it all explodes at once, which doesn't very often happen, which is probably why it's even more satisfying. Like the silver is pretty easy to do. Most of the time, you can get the silver to pop without it splitting into chunks. Obviously, you can get right under the silver, which is awesome. About to die again with the pickaxe. We'll do a little count as well afterwards, and just work out how much we got. So as you can see, this bit of terrain is still poking up through the copper, and that definitely will stop it from popping. So yeah, all I'm basically trying to do is cut through this copper to get to that bit of terrain. This was actually the first copper node I found as well. Maybe not the best choice, but it's looking like it might work. all in all, only 43 minutes in, I am using some good gear. Like I've got, end level. I've got padded cuirass and stuff. So that's got Flames gear, the Porcupine. So like dealing with the mobs is really quick and easy, which speeds things up. But the faster you can do it, the less mobs you have to put up with. The less food you're going to chew through. Like being prepared, in other words, is quite helpful. Because you're probably going to be using your best food for this sort of thing. If you're in the Black Forest trying to get some copper, it's such a tedious task to do. You probably want to make it as painless as possible. It's pretty unlikely that you'd have any copper gear at this stage. Good choice. Oh, I'm glad. A good way to think about it, I think, is when you first get to the Black Forest and after some copper, the first thing you need to do is build a forge. The ore itself is obviously useless. So you got yourself, presumably, some serpent cores to process it. You get 6 copper on its own is also useless, because that gives you a forge, and you can't do anything without a forge, but having just a forge is pointless. There are a few things that are quite cheap. All I'm doing now is just looking around it to see if I can see anything that's obviously going to impact it. I suspect it might be ready to pop. Yeah, so coming in to get a little bit of copper to make a forge, and whatever it is you need from there. Possibly, depending on your playstyle as well, you might want a copper knife. You don't need to even gather tin for that, or you might want to just start farming. So you need a cultivator. I think it's 8 for a cultivator. But maybe a good choice would be, like if you've got portals, a good choice might be a bronze pickaxe and a bronze helmet. Dodge rolling then. Got plenty of health. So it's possibly ready to pop now. Probably still won't. I'm not sure why, but I will get rid of the fire and the workbench after I repair. Because I believe they cause problems as well. So it looks like it's fairly well separated. Like laterally, that looks perfectly fine to me. I haven't seen anything be a problem width-wise. If you can just make the distance jumping, it's probably pretty reasonable. And I think if you can go underneath something and swing at it and hit it, then it's probably worth doing that. And I don't mean to grade dwarf, obviously. I mean, if you can still... if it's still low enough that you can hit the copper vein, then it's probably worth focusing on those bits. I'm sure I hit that before. There we go. So you can see that broke in a few different places around it, which is usually a good sign. But it also, because it didn't break everywhere, it suggests to me that it's still connected in a few places. Probably these low spots. So I'll focus on those first. If you have a look at it, how it's pulling down here, all these nodes appear to be, all these vertices appear to be pulling down into a point that you can't see. So I feel like that might be the place that it's connected. I want you to notice that actually. I normally do a better job of clearing the floor underneath, making sure that all of that is completely gone. I find that is helpful too. Still looks a little low, like a little bit too close. If I can reach it, gotta go for sure. Beautiful. And there it is. So 50 minutes. Completely gone. Let's count it all up. I haven't even picked up my wood. Put a chest here to put everything in. Keep it organised and separated. You can have all the ore, you can have all the stone, you can have everything else. Oh, and the wood, sorry. Alright. Pick everything up. Boom, yeah, it's... to be honest, I was a little surprised that it actually did work on that one. I thought there was one more that I was going to have to hit, but we got lucky. You're welcome, Tom. I'm more than happy. I quite enjoy doing this. It's I find it satisfying when it does pop away like that. Helps me to... I've done this quite a lot. It's mostly to try and understand the mechanics, because I am interested in game development. And I had seen people do it before on YouTube, like when the game first came out, and I just did not understand how it was possible, like why it would collapse. Didn't understand the game engine at all. But you know, it all helps to see what's happening. Just don't tell Helga that I left this huge hole on the ground. Never hear the end of it. At least we'll get this bit too, hey? Oh, I can see that damage number off to the side there, so this might be might have been a slightly larger chunk than you could see, because a lot of it is hidden by the surface. Actually, something that might be able to do is go to free fly mode again, and if I pop like a clip underneath the terrain, I might be able to see any little pieces remaining. So I'll get rid of all the ones we can first, that are visible, sorry. And then we'll just see if there's more that is there that we can't actually see from ground level. Which obviously, using a troll to help is perfect for that, because they actually have an area of attack that's, I think, a sphere in shape, or like a cone maybe, and it goes fairly deep. So here we are, looks pretty well clear. I can't see anything poking out of the ground. So again, go to free fly. Whoops. I'm gonna get attacked, aren't I? Okay, there's more copper just there. That's interesting. Hopefully I'll stay alive. Actually, can't you press K or something to kill them all? No, maybe not. Is that debug mode? Let's just do that, so we can sort this out. There we go. No. Maybe it's just kill all. There we go. Oh, poor piggy. Cool. So, looks like there is still quite a decent chunk underneath that I really have no way of hitting. This is probably the best example I've ever seen, actually. I'd be pretty confident that a troll would get that depth if he was standing in the middle there with you. Just doing that ground slam that it does. But I have no way of actually reaching it because the pickaxe has to actually come into contact with the thing that you're trying to attack. The very point of impact. It doesn't have like a large attack like, you know, like the sledge, the stag breaker does, or anything like that, or the iron sledge. Which would be cool if you could get a mining tool that was a bit more broad spectrum like that. So that's probably another. It's probably another 10 or 15 copper there, perhaps, that we're not going to be able to get. There's a couple of spots that we may be able to touch. Could be connected. We'll have a quick look. Actually, I could even make the game go a little bit faster. That's time scale, isn't it? That might be fun. Time scale. 2. There we go. Just for the sake of trying to get these last little bits. It's looking a little bit fruitless already, actually. Not seeing the terrain drop down much. Oh, here a little bit. Might expose a bit. Quick look to see if it got us much closer. So you can see actually the bit that I'm standing on is so close to where that touches the ground. So might be able to touch that little bit. No, I can't repair this, can I? Yeah, it needs a roof. Even in debug mode. Just spawn another one. Maybe I'll just go that again. Where'd that go? There it is. And I moved, didn't I? That was silly. Self-repair? What, as in just type in self-repair? right, did I? Why didn't that work? Free fly. There we go. Okay, so it's behind me a little bit. Oh yeah, maybe where that little lumpy bit is. B, and self-repair. An open tab. No placement cost true. Interesting. Ah, hey, look at that. Ooh. That is helpful. Thank you. I think it's about here. Let's see if we can take the terrain down a bit further. A little bit. I'm still not seeing it poke through. Yeah, let's continue with the cleanup. So crazy playing at this speed. Feels quite unusual. Go. Not a huge amount. 105. And almost a full chest of stone. Not quite. And it's a decent amount of copper in, you know, an hour. 50 minutes I think it was. And, you know, trucking it home obviously. Oh, Helga's gonna love that, isn't she? Big hole in the ground. I'll have to send her a screenshot of it. Don't mind me. There we go. I had to. So, I hope that helps, Tom, and let me know if you want to see that again from another one. Probably worthwhile scouting one out in like underneath again and having a look at the shape of them, just to see if we could get one decent size that is not too far underground. That would be pretty good. That might have been my own fault really for getting one so close to on such a steep slope. Having one maybe on the top of a hill, like a little like a copper pimple, that might work well, because all the ground around it is gonna want to excavate quickly, and you should probably get, I think you'd stand a good chance of getting underneath it quite well, but you know, you don't usually get to choose too often, you know, the shape of, you know, all the little idiosyncrasies of the copper that you're dealing with at the time. It's like, hey, I found one finally. Let me try and get this as much as I can without dying. I suppose it really depends on what you're trying to achieve. But, you know, if you've done if you're doing a slow playthrough and you come across a bunch of copper potentials before you even started, maybe you could, you know, fine-tune your copper vein choices a little bit better. Anyway, thanks for coming. I hope that was helpful, and I shall end this here. thanks again for the idea, Tom. I think it was sort of good to have a look at that again. So, I do find it helpful and interesting to, you know, find what is affecting it and what is not. Like the and practice a lot, yeah, for sure. Like the trees used to get me at first. Like, how could they be affecting it? But turns out you get rid of a couple of trees and then things start popping. And the rocks, you get rid of all that trash. I would often get everything out of the hole first, and then sometimes build a little slope. I'll just sort of show you actually. Sometimes build a slope that you can actually walk out of. So I'll just walk until I can't get out without using shift, because obviously when you're over encumbered, you can't do that. So I would follow the slope and just hit all the high spots so I can actually walk out. I find this quite helpful and I don't do it enough. Just using the pickaxe. Keep going until you walk all the way out without using shift to run. That way, when you're over encumbered, you can do the walk, and it's no longer a walk of shame. So you can walk straight out of the hole, put everything up into your cart that you've parked here, or like, you know, where you're going to place your cart, and then you don't have to try and get it all out of the hole, which is sometimes painful, especially if it's a big one. You might get like 5 stacks of copper sometimes. Just takes so long, especially if you've got all your gear on you. Like, one alone weighs 300, which is as much as you can carry, so you have to drop everything in order to get that out. And if this is your first copper mine, there's no way you're going to have found Haldor by then to have the Mengenjord. You're welcome, Tom. Not a problem at all. It was good fun. And I shall see you all later. Thanks for coming. Bye for now.